morning, good afternoon, good evening. The Shona have got a saying that Kufa komujoni, kamba haivhari. That means the death of the commissioner of the police would not mean the jail must be closed. Life goes on. This is particularly relevant in the current discussion taking place in the country regarding this constitutional amendment number 3. I would like to put the case to you that if Mnangagwa was to drop dead now, not that I'm wishing him to drop dead, but I'm only acknowledging the reality that he, like everybody else, is a mere mortal. Any of us can drop dead. If he was to drop dead, I can tell you now that the Zanu PF machinery will not drop this constitutional amendment number 3. Think about it. Meanwhile, I would like you to listen to what Jameson Timber was saying regarding this amendment number 3. He is a senator, a former, well, still is a Chamisa supporter. He is actually leading the faction in parliament that has remained faithful to Chamisa. This is what he was saying here to say on SAPES. And I'd like you to encourage you, those of you who haven't listened to it, to Google under SAPES Trust and listen to the whole video. It's about 2 hours. And in it, I think it explains what this whole amendment number 3 is all about. But I just want to focus on what Senator Timber was saying.
Faces a difficult crisis at the moment. A crisis which takes us back to where we were before 2008, when the key political actors in this country sat down and said, listen, we can't go on like this. We need to move the country. And one of the key things that they agreed was to come up with a new constitution. That new constitution, as much as it was possible, it is not a perfect document, but intended to take into account the interests of various segments of our society, including the ruling party. And all the issues that we had were put on the table. And there was deliberate consultation of the people throughout the whole country to hear what Zimbabweans wanted in their constitution. And they spoke loudly. One of the key things that they said then was that they wanted a president who serves for 2 terms of 5 years each. That request was made almost throughout all the public hearings that were held in all the provinces in Zimbabwe. It was a key demand of the people of Zimbabwe. People of Zimbabwe then went to a referendum and agreed on this constitutional settlement. What is being proposed by Bill number 3 today is a reversal of those democratic gains that Zimbabweans settled in 2013. But most worryingly, Dr. Ibo, is the fact that the changes that they intend to do to the Constitution itself is forbidding those changes unless people are consulted through a referendum. I do not understand why, if the ruling party believes that these proposals have got popular appeal, why can't they just go back to the people? Because the people are here and they are willing to speak. Just go back to them and say, listen, we would like to extend our tenure. So this idea of wanting to do these amendments through parliament is not acceptable. As the DCP, we are here lawfully to confront the two crises that the country is facing. The crisis related to the mutilation of our constitution and the crisis related to the non-implementation of that constitution that we agreed in 2018. All we are asking is that implement the constitution, do not amend it. That's all we're asking. If you have to amend it the right way. So which means give us a referendum. If you do not give us a national referendum, then the DCP will organize a people's referendum, where the people must speak and exercise their rights in terms of Section 59 of the Constitution of the Republic. There is no other way. And we are saying to Parliament, to parliamentarians, you were given a term of office of 5 years. You have no right, moral or otherwise, to extend your own term of office. You can't. You simply cannot do that because it's morally reprehensible to do it. Go back to the people, ask for, demand that there be a referendum, and then that's it. But if we look at the totality of the bill, what is the position of the DCP? We have taken the position that the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 is indivisible, which means Parliament shall have to face all the clauses that are being proposed to be amended in the Constitution. And they must say yes or no to everything.
I'll stop it there. I started by saying that komujoni, kamba, haivhari, and put this scenario to you that if Mnangagwa was to drop dead, what then? Let me tell you now. If Mnangagwa was to drop dead, I can rest assure you that Zanu PF would not drop amendment number 3. Yes, they will drop the bit that says we'll ask the people to extend Mnangagwa's stay in office beyond 2028. That will no longer be relevant. But as for the bit that says, let's extend the length of the term, i.e. from 5 years, the present one, to 7 years, they will not drop that. Of course they want to see that. Whoever will succeed Mnangagwa will know that that will benefit him or her. And so they will want it. The bit about extending the term limits beyond the 2 successive 2 terms, they would not want it. They are not keen on it, because if they were to get the 7 years, 2 successive 7-year terms, they would know they would have served 14 years. And even those who in Zanu PF right now have been arguing that they did not want amendment number 3, notably VP Chiwenga. If Mnangagwa was to drop dead now, all of a sudden you would want amendment number 3. But more significantly, there is no Zanu PF thug worth his salt who does not know the important role that this amendment is playing. Just like the ED2030 agenda before it was playing. This is an important decoy. It's taking attention away from the fact that Zimbabwe is a dictatorship already. When you listen to the likes of Senator Timber there, they would want to give you the impression that if we can stop this amendment number 3, we will all live happily ever after. That is nonsense. Zimbabwe is a dictatorship. Mnangagwa blatantly rigged the 2023 elections and the 2018 elections before that. To suggest that the present constitution, yes, it's not perfect, is ridiculous. The truth of the matter is that constitution that was passed in 2013 has failed to guarantee the people's fundamental basic human rights, including the right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country. MDC leaders, at the time when the constitution was put before the nation, told the people that this was a democratic constitution. Morgan Tsvangirai claimed it was the child of the MDC. But the truth of the matter is that Mugabe dictated that constitution. As Paul Mangwana, who was the co-chair of the committee that drafted the constitution, boasted soon after the constitution was approved. We cannot keep pretending that this is a working constitution. That Zanu PF, that Zimbabwe is not a democracy, is a democracy. That stopping the amendment number 3 will somehow end the Zanu PF dictatorship. It will not. If Mnangagwa was dropped dead, Zanu PF will appoint his successor. And whoever it is will have the same dictatorial powers that Mnangagwa is enjoying right now. And he or she will also have the common sense to realize that the most single most important thing that must defend is to stop anyone implementing any meaningful democratic changes, reforms to dismantle the dictatorship. Yes, they would want to add powers, like this amendment will add more dictatorial powers to the dictator. But let's not make the mistake of thinking that we don't have a dictator if this amendment does not go through. We have. And this is at the heart of our problem. We really have to wake up to the reality that we have a problem here. Zanu PF is very careful to make sure that we do not, I repeat, in any way undermine its present dictatorial powers. Instead of people demanding that we implement the democratic reforms to ensure free, fair, and credible elections, people have now been caught up in fighting to stop Zanu PF getting dictatorial powers. Additional dictatorial powers. The emphasis is on additional. Stopping Zanu PF getting additional dictatorial powers is not the same thing as taking the present dictatorial powers that the regime has. Zanu PF dictatorship could be dismantled by two ways. Number one, implement the democratic reforms. We had the opportunity to implement those democratic reforms during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. Jameson Timber and his fellow MDC leaders failed to implement even one token reform. That is a historic fact. And we know why they failed. Mugabe bribed them with the trappings of high office, and they forgot about the reforms. Ever since the GNU debacle, the MDC-CCC leaders have been participating in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy. This they knew themselves. This they've admitted themselves. So we can't keep on pretending that we do not have a dictatorship or don't have ways to stop it. You cannot keep on participating in a flawed process, knowing fully well by participating you give it legitimacy. Jameson Timber was one of the CCC leaders who participated in these flawed elections, knowing fully well that by participating, you are giving Zanu PF legitimacy. All this hive of activity to stop Amendment number 3 is just another way of trying to ingratiate themselves to the electorate. But what we can say with certainty is that they intend to participate in the next elections, even if not even one democratic reform is implemented. So there are two ways of stopping, of ending the Zanu PF dictatorship. Implement the democratic reforms. We had the opportunity to do so, and MDC CCC leaders sold out. The second one is that you should stop participating in a flawed elections, because you are only giving the regime legitimacy and perpetuating the dictatorship. The same people have been participating in flawed elections out of greed. They've conned their followers to participate out of greed. I can rest assure you now, it doesn't matter what happens with this amendment, number 3. The next elections, Jameson Timber and company would participate in those elections, knowing fully well that Zanu PF have not implemented even one token reform. How do I know that? Because they've participated in the past. They've done it out of greed. We need to grow up as a nation. The number one task before us, in my view, is to make sure that we put an end to this cursed election process. It's now 46 years and counting. And as a nation, we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. That is a crying shame. The only way we can make sure that the next elections are either free, fair, and credible, or we don't participate, is by accepting that this amendment number 3 seeks only to add on the dictatorial powers. It doesn't dismantle the main dictatorship. And the main dictatorship, Zanu PF right now, is very careful that we do not pay attention to the fact that they are not implementing any reforms. We concentrate on the additional powers. And all they've secured so far, they don't want it touched. That is the essence of the dictatorship itself. We should come to a clear understanding that without meaningful reforms, we should not participate in the next elections, regardless of whether or not amendment number 3 is passed. Because it's only seeking to top up on what the dictatorial powers the regime has. We should have the consciousness, the mentality, the understanding that as long as the present dictatorial powers are not taken away, we will never have free, fair, and credible elections in Zimbabwe. Forget about the additional ones. What they have already, that must be taken away. And that, unfortunately, will not be done by stopping Amendment number 3. That is the point. And we should learn to concentrate on what really, really matters. Celebrating that we've stopped Amendment number 3 when Zanu PF is going to blatantly rig the next election and we'll still be stuck with a dictatorship is an open, it's a failed policy. It's no different from what happened in 2017. When, yes, we removed Mugabe, but only to get another dictator. We need to think ahead. We want to end the dictatorship. That should be our focus. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.